You're passionate about making a difference in the lives of your learners, but sometimes it feels like you're just going through the motions. The heavy reliance on standardized assessments like the VB-MAP and ABLES can leave you wondering if you're truly meeting the unique needs of each child. The desire to do more, to genuinely transform lives, often leaves you feeling both inspired and somewhat constrained by the traditional methods. You've been diligently gathering data, completing assessments, and crafting goals based on those results. You've attended workshops, read numerous articles, and participated in countless professional development workshops in hopes of finding a spark, that one piece of insight that will take your practice from good to extraordinary. Yet the transformation you're seeking is still just out of reach. Imagine stepping into your workday with a renewed sense of purpose and confidence, empowered with strategies that go beyond conventional assessments to truly unlock your learners' potential. Picture a practice where every goal you set not only addresses immediate needs, but paves the way for lifelong skills and independence for your learners. What would you do with the extra clarity and empowerment over the next few months to turn these aspirations into reality? Are you ready to redefine success and become a catalyst for true, lasting change in the lives of your learners? Feel the freedom to question the usual and embrace an approach that respects and amplifies the unique strengths and needs of each child. It's an ambitious goal, but one we are about to tackle. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Amelia Delphonse. I am a BCBA and I co-founded Master ABA with my twin sister, Diana Kelly. Through Master ABA, we help BCBAs gain confidence in their skills so they can have a greater impact with their children. Our focus is on ethical, compassionate, client-centered practices. This course is eligible for CEUs. You must watch the video all the way to the end. There will be a short quiz at the end of each lesson. You must also mark the mission accomplished lesson complete to receive your CEU certificate. In the mission accomplished lesson is information about how to update your BCBA number in your account. Please update your number before you mark the lesson complete. This will ensure that your certificate populates correctly. Your certificate will not be emailed to you. You can find your certificate by logging into your account on Master ABA, scrolling all the way to the bottom of the sidebar menu on the left side of your screen and click My Certificates. If for some reason you miss a step or have any trouble with your certificate, email us at support@masteraba.com. We're happy to help with anything you need. After taking this course, you will identify the 5 steps for choosing meaningful goals. Identify behavioral cusps and pivotal behaviors that lead to meaningful changes for your learner. And choose meaningful goals using the 3 components of goal selection. Let me start with a story about a 6-year-old boy. I'll call him Peter, but that's not his actual name. I work as an independent contractor and had accepted this child from another BCBA who was going on maternity leave. I spoke to her over the phone before my first meeting with the family. She let me know that he hadn't made a lot of progress in the 6 months she had been working with him. She said that he was a slow learner and didn't offer much other information other than the fact that he didn't speak. Looking at the data collection system didn't provide a lot more information except that they were working on tacting and sitting at the table. Equipped with this information, I showed up at Peter's house to meet him and his mom. He was climbing all over the furniture and the counters, taking food from the kitchen and rolling on the floor. It was difficult to have a conversation with his mom because he was so all over the place that she had to keep chasing him to redirect him away from climbing. I asked his mom to tell me about her experiences with services so far. She told me that she didn't think ABA was going to work for him. I nodded and said that I could see how she might feel that way given his current behavior. I asked her to tell me what her goals were for him. She said she wasn't sure what he would be capable of, and she just wanted him to be happy. Through the rest of the conversation, I learned that ABA wasn't working for him because they were targeting the wrong skills. This was a 6-year-old boy who couldn't communicate his needs and desires to the adults in his life. He couldn't entertain himself, and he wasn't toilet trained. The two primary skills the previous BCBA was targeting were sitting at the table and tacting. Take a minute to consider the disconnect between this child's needs and the skills chosen by the BCBA. This was a good BCBA. She was very kind and experienced. So why was she targeting these skills? There were several factors at play. First, she was providing remote services only and had never been to the house to meet Peter in person. They were targeting getting him to sit at the table because it's very difficult to provide telehealth when the RBT is chasing the child all over the house. Second, the BCBA was relying on the Vineland-3 because this was required by his insurance company. This assessment doesn't provide a lot of guidance for component skills and their prerequisites. Finally, Peter had no toys at home. His mom said they stopped buying him toys because he didn't play with them and he just made a mess with them. I will come back to this story a little later so you can hear how he's doing now, 3 years later. Our field relies heavily on standardized assessment tools like the VB-MAP, ABLES, and PEAK for selecting skill acquisition goals and measuring the effectiveness of an ABA program. These tools are undeniably valuable. They provide a structured framework, program guidance, and oftentimes are required for approval for insurance-funded services. However, relying solely on these assessments is like looking at our learners through a narrow lens, missing the bigger picture. We often focus on teaching the next skill in the assessment. Sure, we might add a few original goals, but many of us mostly adhere to the assessment because progress on the assessment is what we are judged on. It's essential that we acknowledge both the strengths and limitations of the tools at our disposal and consider more personalized, compassionate approaches that truly resonate with each learner's unique journey. In this course, we're going to challenge the status quo. We'll explore ways to select and craft skill acquisition goals that go beyond the surface level of standardized assessments. Our aim is to create goals that are not just data-driven, but also deeply meaningful and transformative. We'll delve into strategies that prioritize the learner's autonomy, advocate for their individual needs, and build upon their inherent strengths. Reflect on your own practice. How often do you find yourself defaulting to the goals suggested by traditional assessments? How might you expand your approach to include the voices, interests, and aspirations of your learners? This is the big question we will be looking at in this course. We will focus on how to use the information you gather with the assessment to identify more meaningful goals, going beyond those listed in the curriculum guide. Buckle up, open your mind, and get ready to redefine success for your learners, one compassionate and individualized goal at a time. The assessments we use don't paint the full picture of the learner's strengths and needs. They couldn't because it would be impossible to cover the huge range of skills that a child needs to experience a fulfilling life and be independent. And it's critical that we recognize where these tools might fall short. Consider a learner whose VB-MAP scores indicate he has strong social skills. On paper, this might seem like he's ready to engage with peers seamlessly. Yet when he's on the playground, he struggles to insert himself into a group of peers who are already playing. Despite his strong scores, he finds this real-world application challenging. The assessment didn't capture this discrepancy, leaving a vital skill gap that we need to address. Or another learner whose assessment shows she had excellent tacting skills. In a structured environment, she can label 100 items accurately. However, she struggles to use these skills in a natural situation to bid for joint attention. Her ability to connect with others through shared experiences is limited, a skill that the assessment isn't designed to measure. These examples highlight an essential point. While standardized assessments like the VB-MAP and ABLES provide a structured way for us to measure progress, they don't identify the most important skills we should be teaching our learners: pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps. These are critical skills that can open new opportunities for learning and interaction. Pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps are critical in creating a meaningful skill acquisition plan that empowers the learner and amplifies progress. So here's a challenge for us. How can we move beyond the confines of these assessments to truly identify and target these pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps? How can we ensure we're not just meeting the minimum requirements on a checklist, but genuinely enhancing the lives of our learners? As a BCBA, you face seemingly unlimited challenges in your day-to-day role that impacts your ability to go beyond the basics when choosing skill acquisition goals. The first step to overcoming these challenges is to bring them out into the open. Which of the following common challenges can you relate to? Individualization. Ensuring that goals are truly tailored to each child's unique needs, abilities, and circumstances. This can be challenging, especially when you're working with children whose needs appear similar on the surface. Generalization. Helping children apply learned skills across different settings, people, and situations. This proves difficult when services are typically provided in just one location. Motivation. Maintaining child engagement and motivation, particularly for goals that may not have immediate reinforcement value, can be challenging. Balancing priorities. Deciding which goals to prioritize when there are multiple skill deficits can be complex, especially when there's a conflict between what you want to prioritize and what the parents want. Data collection and analysis. Consistently collecting accurate data and interpreting it effectively to guide decision-making can be time-consuming and complex, as progress is not linear and online data collection tools often don't work the way we want them to. Resource constraints. Limited time, staff, or materials can impact the ability to implement comprehensive programs effectively. Stakeholder alignment. Ensuring that all stakeholders, including parents, teachers, and other therapists, are aligned on goals and implementation strategies. This is challenging, especially when funders don't pay for time spent collaborating with the rest of the team. Adapting to rapid progress or lack thereof. Knowing when and how to adjust goals based on a child's progress or lack of progress requires careful monitoring and decision-making. Addressing interfering behaviors. Challenging behaviors may interfere with skill acquisition, making it difficult to implement planned teaching strategies. Balancing structured learning with naturalistic opportunities. Finding the right balance between structured teaching sessions and leveraging naturalistic learning opportunities is a challenge depending on the environment that you're working in. Transition planning. Ensuring smooth transitions between different phases of intervention or between different services providers. And keeping up with the research. Staying current with the latest research and best practices in the field to inform goal selection and implementation strategies. Each of these challenges presents a unique opportunity for problem solving, but also can become time-consuming, and we all know how little time is available to BCBAs. With practice, choosing goals that are meaningful to your clients becomes much faster and easier. You begin to quickly identify those goals that have the most far-reaching impact for your learners. Let's first start by reviewing what pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps are. I'm sure you learned about them in your coursework, but if you're anything like me, these terms are easily confused. I find it helpful to have a specific learner in mind when thinking of them, so I can make a real-life connection. Choose a learner who is struggling to make progress or where progress feels somewhat stalled. This will help you make these connections while we are talking about the terms and make it easier for you to apply what we're talking about after the course is over. Make sure to download the workbook in the resources tab of the lesson as an additional resource. Pivotal behaviors are fundamental skills that, once learned, can produce widespread changes in other behaviors. They are key skills that lead to positive changes across various domains of functioning. These behaviors serve as a foundation for acquiring other related skills and contribute to overall progress and independence. They are central to a learner's ability to adapt and are characterized by their widespread impact. Pivotal behaviors, once acquired, create ripple effects, enhancing a multitude of other skills and behaviors. For instance, mastering self-initiated communication can lead to improved social interactions, increased academic engagement, and reduced maladaptive behaviors. Relevance across contexts. These behaviors are applicable in various settings and situations, ensuring that the learner experiences consistent and meaningful progress. For example, motivation is essential at home, in school, and within the community. Foundation for future learning. Pivotal behaviors lay the groundwork for acquiring more complex skills and facilitating lifelong learning. Teaching a learner how to engage in joint attention not only enriches their current social connections, but also builds the foundation for collaborative learning and cooperative play. To identify pivotal behaviors, consider skills that have a wide-ranging impact on the individual's development and independence. These behaviors often include foundational skills such as imitation, joint attention, self-management, and social engagement. Enhancing these pivotal behaviors can lead to significant improvements in communication, social interaction, problem solving, and adaptive skills. A pivotal behavior could simplify and accelerate the overall learning process for the individual by making new, previously unrelated behaviors easier to acquire. For example, initiating social interactions is a pivotal behavior that can result in a broad array of social learning opportunities. Doctors Robert and Lynn Kogel at the University of California, Santa Barbara in the 1970s developed pivotal response training as an intervention that focuses on building pivotal behaviors. Kogel et al. 1999 described three pivotal areas: motivation to initiate, response to multiple cues, and self-management. In 2013, one of the authors, Dr. Lynn Kogel, expanded on this when she added social initiation as a pivotal behavior. Motivation refers to the degree to which an individual is motivated to complete a task or engage in social interactions with others. Improving motivation to complete a task leads to fundamental improvements in self-care, academics, and other skills that lead to greater independence in life. When a learner is motivated to engage with others, this can have a positive impact on social communication, play skills, and other social behavior. Responding to multiple cues refers to the learner's ability to respond to SDs with two or more components. For example, a blue car. The learner demonstrates understanding that this is not the same as the red car or the blue dump truck. Kogel, 1988. Learners who respond to multiple cues to items within their environment show greater generality and become less rigid in their learning styles. They learn to adapt and respond to a wide variety of cues available within the natural environment. Self-management involves the ability to regulate one's own behavior, emotions, and attention. Improving self-management skills can have a positive impact on a range of other behaviors, including social behavior, academic performance, and adaptive behavior. Social initiation refers to the ability to initiate interactions with others, such as saying hello, starting a conversation, or joining a group. Improving social initiation skills can have a positive impact on social communication, play skills, and other social behaviors. Overall, improving these four pivotal behaviors can have a cascading effect on a wide range of other behaviors, making it easier to teach and reinforce new skills and behaviors. Behavioral cusps refer to skills or behaviors that, once acquired, create new learning opportunities and significantly impact the individual's life. These are skills that act as a cusp or a gateway to accessing and acquiring a broader range of skills and experiences. They allow the learner to access new environments, reinforcers, and contingencies. In other words, they are a critical change in behavior that open up new opportunities for learning and growth. Behavioral cusps are often considered to be a key component of skill development, as they enable individuals to learn and adapt to their environment in new and more effective ways. They can occur at any age, and it can impact any area of an individual's development. For example, a child who learns to crawl or walk experiences a behavioral cusp that allows them to explore their environment more fully and opens up new opportunities for learning and socialization. A child's ability to use tacting skills for joint attention is a behavioral cusp, as it enables richer, more engaging social interactions. A teenager who learns to drive a car experiences a behavioral cusp as they begin to access new environments and reinforcers without relying on their parents to drive them. And an adult can also experience a behavioral cusp when they learn new skills, such as learning a new language or learning to navigate the subway system. To identify behavioral cusps, consider skills that have a broad and transformative influence on the individual's life. These skills may involve social interactions, communication, adaptive behavior, or cognition. For example, acquiring basic reading skills can serve as a behavioral cusp, as it opens up a world of literacy, educational opportunities, and access to information. Here are a few more examples of behavioral cusps. Independent communication. Developing independent communication skills can serve as a behavioral cusp for autistic children. These include not only improving verbal language skills, but also utilizing alternative and augmentative communication methods, such as sign language, picture exchange systems, or assisted communication devices. Acquiring independent communication opens up opportunities for expressing needs, initiating social interactions, and participating in various environments, enhancing overall communication and social functioning. Play skills. Developing play skills can serve as behavioral cusps for autistic children. This includes engaging in independent or imaginative play, engaging in cooperative play with peers, and following social rules during play. Acquiring play skills opens up opportunities for social interactions, peer relationships, and participation in various play activities, fostering overall social and cognitive development. And finally, adaptive daily living skills. These skills encompass activities of daily living, such as dressing, grooming, personal hygiene, meal preparation, and household chores. Developing these skills enables children to become more independent and self-sufficient in managing their personal needs and functioning in different environments. It promotes autonomy, self-care, and overall functional independence. By focusing on these broader, more impactful behaviors, we can set goals that are not only data-driven, but also deeply meaningful and transformative. But the challenge is that many of these skills don't appear in the assessments that we use to guide our programming. With limited time and resources, it's not as easy as it sounds to go beyond the assessments to choose skills that will be truly meaningful to the learner, but it gets easier with practice. To efficiently incorporate these skills in your treatment plans, you need a process to follow. If you're currently relying on the curriculum guide that's part of the standardized assessment, this process adds only a couple of quick brainstorming steps. Here are the steps. First, use the standardized assessment results to identify pivotal behaviors your learner needs that will have an impact on his ability to develop new skills. These might include problem-solving skills, initiating tasks or interactions, motivation, or imitation. Then identify behavioral cusps that will create new learning opportunities for your learner, such as self-advocacy skills, executive functioning skills, or emotional regulation. Next, break down all of these skills and identify prerequisite skills such as attending, following one-step directions, or accepting an item from an adult. Using the results, from the standardized assessment along with the identified prerequisite skills. Choose skill acquisition goals that will bring your learner closer to the pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps you identified in the earlier steps. For this to become an efficient process, you need to become very familiar with common pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps that your learners may need to develop. Let's look at some more examples. I'm going to go through a lot of information, but I want you thinking about how they might apply to your learners. So don't worry about writing anything down, except maybe some notes about which skills might apply to your specific learners. You can download these examples in the resources tab of this lesson. Learning to read is a behavioral cusp that opens the door to reading a menu, reading signs in the community, reading a schedule, or reading instructions for a preferred task. Prerequisite skills include phonetic awareness, following directions, and attending to tasks. These would be critical skills to target for your learners if they don't already demonstrate them. If you're providing services in a school, this should fit nicely with the expectations of the funder. If you're providing insurance-funded services, you probably can't directly target reading, and that's okay. Consider targeting these prerequisite skills that aren't directly related to reading. Focus on the learner getting ready to learn. Steve Ward has published a book called Teaching Good Learner Repertoires. I will link to this in the resources tab of the lesson. If you're not sure how to target these skills, you might find this book helpful. Learning to ride a bike is another behavioral cusp. It literally gives the learner access to new environments and reinforcers. The learner is able to engage in physical and social activities more easily. Prerequisites include motor coordination, balance, and spatial awareness. Again, with insurance-funded services, you might have some trouble justifying the medical necessity of bike riding. And even many of the prerequisites fall outside of what would be considered medically necessary for ABA services. On the other hand, spatial awareness is an important social skill, and other prerequisite skills can be targeted indirectly through different physical activities that can be embedded into programming, either to teach social skills or as reinforcers. Developing language skills is one of the most important things we can target. These impact effective communication with both peers and adults, as well as social interaction and cognitive development. The prerequisites for language skills depends on the verbal operant you're targeting, but they might include attention, imitation, or joint attention. Targeting language development is a slam dunk when it comes to justifying it to the insurance companies or schools. It's the core of what we teach most of the time, but carefully consider how you are targeting communication and language. When we teach these skills using DTT in a highly structured environment, isolating each operant, the child's language skills may become more rote or stunted. The child may meet criteria for mastery, yet still not have functional communication skills. As in the example I used earlier, if a child can tack 100 different items in a structured setting, but can't use the skill socially by bidding for joint attention, what value does it have to the child? Incorporate the prerequisite skills needed for the learner to use each verbal operant in the natural environment to make the most of this behavioral cusp. Initiating social interactions is a pivotal behavior that opens the door to learning a broad range of other important social skills, such as initiating and maintaining conversations, interpreting social cues, and navigating difficult social situations. There's a long list of prerequisite skills that are necessary for the learner to successfully acquire these skills, including joint attention, perspective taking, and emotional regulation. Initiating social interactions is a critical skill that opens doors to engaging with peers and developing friendships. Children need to learn to initiate interactions with an individual peer and also how to initiate an interaction with a group of peers already engaged in play. Break down complex social skills into component parts. Make sure the learner has necessary prerequisite skills so the learner can apply the skills you teach in the natural environment. Social Skills Solutions by Kelly McKinnon and Janice Krempa provides an assessment that breaks down many of the most commonly taught social skills and is a great tool for identifying meaningful social goals. I don't recommend getting the Kindle version of the book, even though it's significantly less expensive. The assessment isn't formatted well in this version of the book, making it nearly impossible to use. I started with the Kindle version, then found I needed to buy the paperback anyway. I will link to this in the resources tab of this lesson. Toilet training is a behavioral cusp that leads to greater independence, improved self-regulation, and better acceptance by peer groups. Often children aren't allowed to participate in private preschool programs without this skill. It opens the door for a lifetime of independence and improves self-esteem and confidence. There are several prerequisite skills a child needs to master toilet training. This includes some awareness of bodily functions, some basic motor skills, and self-control. I worked with a 13-year-old boy with significant cognitive delays. His parents were told by his pediatrician that he could never be toilet trained, so they never tried. One day, I saw him stop and stare at the door while walking past the bathroom in a public library. I asked him if he wanted to try to use the bathroom. He opened the door and was toilet trained from that day forward. This had such a huge impact on his beliefs about himself and the beliefs others had about him. After this experience, he was able to meet goals no one thought him capable of, such as having his feeding tube removed. Toilet training may seem like a singular skill that has limited reach, but it can actually have a far-reaching impact, even more than you think. Self-feeding is an important behavioral cusp because it opens up a world where the learner has more control over what goes in their mouths. They become more independent. They are often more interested in mealtime, and nutrition may be improved as many young children tend to listen to their body's cues of hunger and generally don't overconsume food. This behavioral cusp requires some fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, and attention. Be careful when targeting self-feeding with diverse populations, as it's common for some cultures for adults to feed young children until they are at least 5 years old. Some parents are hesitant to allow their child to feed themselves because of the mess they make, or because they worry that not enough food actually makes it into the child's mouth. Be sensitive to these concerns when you feel this would make a good target for your learners. Dressing is another pivotal behavior that improves independence, confidence, and task completion. This task requires a child to have some fine motor, sequencing, and problem-solving skills. While on the surface, getting dressed seems to be a skill that strictly promotes independence, there are social implications for the learner as well. The ability to get dressed can impact a learner's ability to engage in imaginative play or have a sleepover with a peer. New opportunities come up for the learner once he is able to dress himself. Learning to use a computer is a behavioral cusp, but could also be considered a pivotal behavior because it can make it easier and faster for the learner to acquire new skills. Technology is a vital part of our society, and learning to use a computer opens new opportunities for accessing reinforcement. Prerequisites for this skill include attention, fine motor skills, and some problem-solving skills. Most insurance funders probably will not consider learning to use a computer medically necessary and will likely not cover goals directly related to this skill. As we discussed with learning to ride a bike, you could target this skill indirectly by targeting the prerequisite skills and using computers as a possible reinforcer. If you're working in a school, this is a goal that is likely to be easier to address directly as an educational tool. Learning to follow multi-step directions is a behavioral cusp that many of you probably already target with some of your learners. This skill is included in most standardized assessments, and you probably understand its far-reaching effects, including engaging in complex tasks, following routines, and demonstrating increased independence. Prerequisite skills for this skill set include attention, memory, and sequencing. I don't know about you, but when I was first starting out, I was taught to create targets that included 3 sort of random tasks to teach this skill. Something along the lines of tap the table, touch your head, and stomp your feet. I didn't consider at the time how little value I was giving to the child. I worked with a 9-year-old learner with significant language delays who struggled to master even simple conditional discrimination tasks. If I presented him with a field of 3 pictures and said, touch the dog, he would fail to touch the dog almost 100% of the time, even though he could label the dog with his voice output device. But what he could do was follow multi-step directions when there was meaning behind those directions. For example, he could follow the directions if I said, go get your plate off the table, put the trash in the trash can, and put your plate in the sink. He would follow these directions with no prompts or gestures from me at all. If you are teaching this skill the way that I started out, consider what value you are actually bringing to the goal. Think about ways you can teach the skill in a more natural and meaningful way. Play and leisure skills are important behavioral cusps that impact social interactions, self-management, and problem-solving skills. Prerequisites depend on the specific play or activity targeted, but may include imitation, motivation for an activity as a reinforcer, and motor planning. Years ago, many ABA professionals targeted, quote, functional play skills. They would seek to teach children to engage with toys the way they were intended. For example, if the child was playing with blocks, a functional way to play would be to build a tower or structure out of the blocks. Lining the blocks up, even if it was appealing to the child, was not considered functional. We sometimes even taught play scripts when teaching imaginative play. For the record, a child acting out a play script is not engaged in imaginative play. They are engaged in delayed imitative behavior. They are not the same thing, even if they look the same topographically. This has shifted to be more accepting of the way autistic children like to play. When targeting the skill, consider what's most important for the individual learner. Play and leisure should be joyful for the learner. If they're not into it, reevaluate. Learning to cross the street is another behavioral cusp that opens the door to new opportunities, such as using public transportation or walking to school. Prerequisites include attention, safety awareness, and possibly some social skills, such as identifying common nonverbal cues. A child who learns to safely cross the street is able to access new environments and reinforcers, but it can be difficult for some learners who have limited awareness of danger. There are a wide range of scary things that can happen, so target full independence with this skill with care. The last behavioral cusp I want to talk about is learning to advocate for yourself. This impacts the learner's ability to make informed choices, access resources, and exercise their rights, among many other things. Prerequisites for this include self-awareness, communication skills, and problem-solving skills. Traditional ABA methods included teaching learners to comply with demands. Professionals are now recognizing the importance of teaching learners to advocate for themselves and to speak out about what they want, even if it doesn't align with what the professional wants. Implementing assent-based practices is one of the best ways to ensure that the learner has a voice. These practices teach and encourage self-advocacy skills. If you're interested in learning more about implementing assent-based practices, I have another CEU course called Voice and Choice, Assent in Action in ABA Services. You can earn 2 CEUs while developing the skills you need to implement this important strategy in your practice. Pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps are just one piece of the puzzle when you're developing a comprehensive treatment plan. Standardized assessments are a crucial part of identifying appropriate goals for the learner. These assessments are usually required when treatment is funded by insurance companies and often required by schools. They offer you an understanding of the learner's relative strengths and areas of need and can guide you toward selecting appropriate behavioral cusps and pivotal behaviors to target. The most common assessments in ABA include the Verbal Behavior Milestones Assessment Placement Program, or BBMAP, assessment of basic language and learning skills, revised, or the ABLES are, promoting emergence of advanced knowledge, or PEAK, assessment of functional living skills, or the AFLS, essential for living, or EFL, Early Start Denver model, ESDM, the Vineland Adaptive Behavior Scales, 3rd edition, and social skills assessments such as the Triad Social Skills Assessment. Generally, in your treatment plan, you want to address skill deficits that relate to any behaviors targeted for reduction and those that promote independence. When a learner encounters reinforcement in the natural environment, they are more likely to engage in pro-social behaviors. Keep these ideas in mind when choosing skills for your plan. Consider including skills in the following areas. Mandate. How would the learner communicate what he or she wants or needs? Tacting. How will the learner engage in joint attention? Interverbals. How will the learner develop more complex communication skills? Play and leisure skills. How will the learner engage in appropriate activities when attention is restricted? Social. How will the learner appropriately obtain attention from peers and navigate complex social interactions? Self-management. How will the learner tolerate demands or delays to reinforcement? How will the learner tolerate denied access or restricted attention? Reinforcer effectiveness. How will the learner develop more effective or readily available reinforcers? Self-care. How will the learner develop new feeding, bathing, toileting, or dressing skills? And finally, academics, if they're appropriate. How will the learner meet IEP goals or tolerate academic demands? Consider how goals in each area we just talked about impact future learning, independence, and reinforcement in the natural environment. This will direct you to those pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps that you're looking to target. Prioritize skills that are directly related to the target behaviors, such as manding or self-management skills, are prerequisites for replacement behaviors or behavioral cusps, allow the learner to access reinforcers in the natural environment, or allow the learner greater independence. Let's take a look at an example. You are doing an intake for a 4-year-old diagnosed with autism. She attends a developmental preschool program, but will be going to a public kindergarten in the fall. Morgan's parents want her to attend a general education classroom, but have received some disagreement from the school, mostly concerning her behavior and independence. These are the concerns that prompted her parents to seek ABA services. Her parents presented the following concerns about Morgan. She engages in aggression and SIB when asked to do something she doesn't want to do. She's not toilet trained and will be placed in a self-contained classroom if she is not toilet trained when she begins school. She does not play with other children, and she does not follow simple directions. During the intake, you ask the parents to complete the QABF, which is the questions about behavioral function, while you completed the BB map. The results are in this chart. According to Morgan's parents, she engages in SIB primarily to escape demands and get access to her favorite things, although it also occurs frequently to escape demands. Morgan engages in aggression primarily to escape attention and access her favorite things, although she also engages in the behavior to escape demands. This chart for the BB map shows that Morgan has relative strengths in the following areas: manding, VPMTS or matching, play, social behavior, and imitation. Her areas of relative weakness are in the following areas: listener responding, complex verbal behavior such as LRFFC and intraverbals, academics, and group skills. To identify meaningful skill acquisition goals, combine the information from all sources and identify pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps that would be most meaningful for Morgan. Look at this table as an example. Morgan's parents are concerned with her aggression and SIB. They want her to participate in a general education classroom. They want to see her playing with other children, and they want her to be able to follow simple directions. The QABF indicates that escape from attention, access to her favorite things, and escape from demands all maintain her target behaviors. The VB map identifies her strengths as manding, VPMTS, play, social behavior, and imitation. The assessment identified areas of weakness as listener responding, complex verbal behavior such as LRFFC or intraverbals, academics, and group skills. Pivotal behaviors that would significantly impact Morgan's rate of skill acquisition goals include problem solving, self-advocacy, initiating, independent skills, group skills, and self-regulation. Behavioral cusps that would open new opportunities for reinforcement or experiences for Morgan include following one-step directions, toilet training, taking turns, answering questions, and social play skills. This is not an exhaustive list of the pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps possible for Morgan, but it's a good place to start. Now consider prerequisite skills that are necessary to help Morgan achieve these skills. Here is a list of possible short-term goals that target these prerequisite skills you could add to Morgan's treatment plan. The full example is available in the workbook that you can download from the resources tab, so you don't need to write the goals down if any of them are applicable to your learners. Morgan will man for missing items needed to engage in preferred activities with 80% independence for 20 different items for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will man for others to emit 5 different actions needed to enjoy a desired activity with 80% independence for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will initiate bids for joint attention by pointing or verbally drawing an adult's attention to an interesting object in the environment with 80% independence for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will void on the toilet with fewer than 3 accidents per week for 4 consecutive weeks by November 1st. Morgan will man for peers to join her in preferred activities that don't require her to give up a toy, for example, swinging, watching a video, etc., with 80% independence for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will perform 10 specific motor actions when asked when the motor actions are part of a game, such as Simon Says or Follow the Leader, with 80% independence for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will man to terminate or avoid a non-preferred task with 80% independence for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will take turns during gameplay and with an adult without engaging in target behaviors for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will independently engage in play on structures and playground equipment for a total of 5 minutes out of a 30-minute recess for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. Morgan will engage in sustained social play with peers for 15 minutes for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. And Morgan will sit at a group snack or lunch table without engaging in target behavior for 10 minutes for 3 consecutive sessions by November 1st. I know that probably felt like a lot of goals, but it was only 11. A general rule of thumb is to include at least 1 goal per hour of service you are requesting if you're providing insurance-funded services. That means that if you wanted to request 20 hours per week of services for Morgan, you would need to identify another 9 meaningful goals. Depending on the type of service provided, such as focused or comprehensive, the number of service hours you're requesting, and the priorities of the family, you may include more or fewer goals in your treatment plan. When choosing goals for a comprehensive ABA program, include goals from across a variety of different domains to ensure the learner has the opportunity to engage in a variety of activities during session. Consider the learner's day, specifically during the time when sessions will occur. What skills would help the learner be successful and independent during that time of day? Look for pivotal behaviors or behavioral cusps that would help the learner through the routines that occur at the time of day sessions will occur. These are the best goals to prioritize. In my example, I used the common mastery criteria of 80% for many of the goals. Keep in mind that the mastery criteria for your goals must be age and developmentally appropriate for your learner. This will vary depending on the goal. Van de Vander et al. 2023 published an article in Behavioral Interventions titled Creating a Reference Range of Common Problem Behaviors and Replacement Behaviors in Neurotypical Children. This article is a great resource for identifying what is reasonable to expect for your learners, so you set goals that they can achieve. For example, the authors identified that 45% of 5-year-olds engage in one or more acts of aggression per day. If you're setting a goal for your 5-year-old learner that is fewer than that, you may be setting him up to fail. The study also looked at replacement behaviors, including relinquishing items, waiting appropriately, tolerating denied access, and engaging in a non-preferred activity. Spoiler alert, none of the children who were part of the study hit the common 80% mastery criteria for any of the skills, except for one skill for 2 of the age groups, 7 and 10-year-olds, were able to wait appropriately 80% of the time. If your learners are having trouble mastering the goals you create, it might be that your expectations are not appropriate for their development. Check out this article and let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can access the full article by logging into your BACB Gateway account, going to the Resources tab, and choosing Behavioral Interventions from the list of available journals. Simply paste the title of the article in the search bar and you'll be able to read the whole article. I've created 2 different documents to help you efficiently choose meaningful skills for your learners. You can download these in the Resources tab of this lesson. These documents are also in the tables below the video in this lesson to make them easier to use. The first spreadsheet has 86 behavioral cusps, along with a list of some of the prerequisite skills. The second spreadsheet has nearly 2,000 goals from common standardized assessments, including the VB-MAP, ABLES, and the assessment of functional living skills. Use the table filters in each of the charts to find skills relevant to your learners. Although I'm providing these tools as a resource to make developing your plans more efficient, make sure to individualize each goal to the unique needs of each learner. Insert the learner's name and adjust mastery criteria to be appropriate for your learner. When choosing goals from the standardized assessments, consider how those goals impact the pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps you identified for your learner. Before we wrap up, I want to tell you how Peter is doing now. For the record, this is not a picture of Peter. Peter is 9 now and has been in ABA services for the last 3 years. If you remember, he's a boy that was not making a lot of progress when I started with him when he was just 6. The BCBA was targeting sitting at the table and tacting colors. After talking to his mother and only a few minutes of watching him interact with her, it became very clear that much of his behavior was him trying to communicate with her. He didn't speak or have an alternative communication system, but he was communicating clearly. He wanted her attention. He wanted a snack. He was bored. We decided to introduce PECS. He mastered phase 3B of PECS within the first 3 weeks with only one 1-hour parent training session per week. His mother did not practice with him much outside of session because she was still learning the process herself. He is not a slow learner. The skills the BCBA tried to teach didn't align with what was most important for him. He transitioned to an AAC device in the following month and learned new vocabulary very quickly. We targeted skills that were meaningful to him, that promoted his independence and supported some of the other skills he had previously struggled to master. With the use of his AAC device, he was able to learn to identify hundreds of items, engage socially with those around him, and respond to questions. He learned to use the bathroom and took pride in being able to do many tasks for himself. He independently chooses to sit at the table for some of the activities he engages in, but he's only required to sit at the table to eat, which is never a problem. He does horseback riding, loves any sports event, and is successfully being homeschooled. People are astounded by his progress. This is the power of choosing the right goals for your learners. And that wraps it up for today. I hope you walk away with the tools you need to incorporate pivotal behaviors and behavioral cusps into your treatment plans. If you're watching this for CEUs, you will need to complete the quiz at the bottom of this lesson. In the Mission Accomplished lesson, you will find information about how to change your BCBA number in your account. Please update this before you mark this lesson complete. You will not receive your certificate until you mark the lesson complete. Your certificate will not be emailed to you. You can find it by logging into your account. There are instructions and an image to help you locate the certificate in that Mission Accomplished lesson. There's a brief survey also in that last lesson. Please take a minute to complete it and let me know what you thought of this course. It helps me improve the courses I'm offering. Make sure to email us with any questions at support@masteraba.com. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you in the comments.